right.
That's playing
Crazy. He stepped down.
I'd like to call to order the regular Board of Education meeting for the Fort Zumwalt School District. If you would stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. Roll call, Ms. Breen.
John?
Present.
Tommy?
Yes.
Mike Blanchard?
Yes.
Tom?
Here.
Greg?
Here.
Mike McCormick?
Yes.
The records will show that Erica Powers is absent.
Please excuse her. I need a motion for the adoption of the agenda that you have before you tonight.
I move for a motion as to accept as presented.
Mr. Callahan, second, please. George, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right, comments from the audience. Tonight we have two folks here locally in the boardroom, and then I also have a letter here that was received online. And I'm gonna go ahead and read the comments online first. This is from Alexis Bingham of St. Peter's. Alexis writes, this March, the Fort Zumwalt schools are observing Black Balloon Day as a way to honor the people we've lost to the opioid epidemic. It's no secret that St. Charles and the surrounding areas have been hit extremely hard and have lost a lot of people, particularly young people. When Find the Light began, we sent a survey to students and parents to assess the impact of addiction and overdose in the Fort Zumwalt School District. We found that 62% of respondents reported that they personally knew a student in the Fort Zumwalt School District who had died from an overdose. This is a mental health issue, and we applaud the schools for hosting these Black Balloon Days to educate their students and honor the people we've lost. We were interested in the addiction-specific resources that Fort Zumwalt offers on its website for parents and students, and we were disappointed. These pages are not prominently displayed and are completely inaccessible on mobile, which is the platform that most students use. The parents, they are fairly easy to find, but for students, they are not. The parent page has links to finding treatment options as well as great articles for parents to learn about why teenagers use drugs, how to talk to their children about addiction, and why minority populations have higher rates of drug abuse. These are fantastic resources to have, though we did not notice a few links that lead to nowhere, including CCRB of St. Charles. From the student's perspective, however, the only page on the district's website that is specifically focused on resources for students' mental health is hard to find. From the home page, a student needs to navigate to parents, students, and alumni. Then they need to click on the parents page, as the student page does not have this information. From there, there is an option for a safe line, and that is the page with the crisis numbers. Having crisis numbers is fantastic, but where is the education we see happening on the parents page? Students need more than a number to call if they are in an immediate crisis. They need information on recognizing addiction in their friends and themselves. The kids often are the first to spot a serious problem. They need support and direction, and a direction to go when they are worried about a friend and don't know what steps to take. The Fort Zumwalt School District has been steadily improving on parent education for years, but students need these resources too, and they need them to be easily accessible. Fort Zumwalt School District Counseling site is a fantastic resource, but it's even more difficult to find. I knew what I was looking for, and it took me a long time to find the site. I asked 3 current high school students to try to navigate to the page, and none of them were able to find it. You have to go to the West High School page on Fort Zumwalt site. The other schools don't appear to link to it. Then go to the office, then counseling office. Then from there, there's a link to the Fort Zumwalt West Counseling website. From there, you can find the Fort Zumwalt School District Counseling website. So a student needs to navigate 3 separate sites to find resources that are not just crisis lines. The district has these amazing resources, but they're not accessible, especially as students are increasingly technologically capable and the district site ages and becomes increasingly difficult to work with. This March, as we remember all of the students we've lost, Find the Light encourages Fort Zumwalt to investigate and reevaluate how accessible they are making their resources. Students need to be at the center of even the smallest decisions. The district has talked with us before about sending these resources to students and families each semester, and we encourage them to make disseminating mental health, and addiction resources effectively a priority. Awareness is important, but kids need the resources at their fingertips and they need them now. This is a cheap and efficient way to reduce addiction and mental illness in our community. Find the Light is more than willing to share the resources we've collected over the last several months to add to the counseling department's already impressive catalog. Zumwalt also has many talented students in the technology program who could possibly benefit from such a project. Thank you for your time and consideration. We look forward to seeing the changes being made to honor Black Balloon Day. All right, Nanette Trax, if you would come forward. And as a reminder, please try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less.
Okay. I'm Nanette Trax. I live in the district. I also teach at North Middle School and serve as Vice President of FZEA for certified staff. I just want to take a minute to add to the public conversation about the academic calendars for the 2 upcoming school years that were presented and rejected during the last board meeting. I'm not here to critique the process or that denial. That's your job. But I do want to invite members of the board to participate fully in the negotiations that take place between the district personnel and FZEA. I think better conversations will lead to better outcomes. There seemed to be some assumptions made by staff and board members who spoke during the last meeting that in my mind were based on incomplete information. So I'd like to take the opportunity to clear those up so that all stakeholders understand the process and how the calendar was derived. The calendar committee is comprised equally of district administration and FZEA members. We surveyed teachers more than once to ask their feedback on how certain calendar features impact them instructionally and their priorities. While we're aware that the imbalanced semesters present particular problems instructionally, most teachers impacted by this issue said that it's preferable to allow students to take their final exams before that long winter break. The committee is also handicapped by the fact that state mandates have pushed back the start date, and in the past we've been able to create calendars that were less imbalanced by pushing the start of the school year back into August. The team worked extremely hard to come up with calendars that met the needs and priorities of most people as we understood them. There is no calendar that follows the state laws, provides perfectly balanced semesters, a fall break, finals before winter break, 2 weeks at winter break, 4 records days for elementary and middle school, and allows the school year to end before Memorial Day. Our committee reconvened several times since the last board meeting with the addition of Tom Emmons representing the board. We again were thoughtful and purposeful in the creation of the new calendars. The priorities were balanced so that no one's likely to get everything they expressed they wanted or needed. However, given the constraints, the team was cognizant of incorporating the feedback of this board, in addition to those expressed by teachers and families. You've seen the choices that are currently out to vote with certified members of FZEA. I believe our team has done a good job on reflecting on the input we received. And going forward, I'm eager to seek more opportunities for meaningful conversation with this board and to have more board members be active participants in the negotiations process. We do appreciate those of you who are currently working with our rights and working conditions teams and our extra pay, extra duty teams. Your perspective and input along the way is valuable and obviously needed. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Arnie Danoff.
Thank you very much, members of the Board of Education. My name is Arnie A.C. Danoff, public advocate, also running for the Board of Education on April 6th. The first issue that I'd like to address, and I wasn't able to get here on time last month and your meeting kind of went really fast, is the larger venue of this room. This room is very small, it's not spaced out, so people can be adequately protected and safe. I've made numerous attempts to work with the board and put alternatives out there for you to consider, such as the theaters at one of our 4 high schools or a larger venue, including a cafeteria that would give the square footage to space people out. For some reason, you guys don't want to get out in the schools and out in the public and the community and look at our schools that are benefiting and bettering our community And I think you as Board of Education members, and if I get elected, I think it's our prerogative and our opportunity to get out and intermingle with the various schools throughout the district, instead of being confined to this one small room. So again, I put that venue out, that we have 4 large theaters. Let's utilize them instead of them collecting dust, because there hasn't been a performance there in over a year, maybe a year and a half. To the previous speaker, I feel that it's mandatory that board members participate in negotiations and be part of the solution and know where our $280 million budget is going. I think it's imperative that school board members have a fiscal responsibility, and they have a responsibility to make sure that our staff is being taken care of in terms of salary, benefits, and pay. So I asked that the Board of Education start participating in that instead of the current system that you have now, which really doesn't get anybody any place, and it just keeps putting the teachers back and back and back and further behind. If you look at other school districts, they do it excellently, and they come to great bargaining agreements. The next thing is, I've been asking for months for the superintendent's salary and benefits that you signed last year. I asked the board secretary, and it still hasn't been complied. I've asked the superintendent himself. I think the public has a right to know his large salary and his huge vacation and sick time accumulation that you have to pay over 3 to 5 years in this current contract, which I think is teetering between $400,000 and $500,000. The public has a right to know. The governor's release of the 2020 funds, he's not going to withhold those funds and release it to school districts. So our school district here is whole. In Fort Zumwalt, we're going to be whole. The 2021 COVID Fund, CARES Act funds will also increase funding for education to do projects and to continue services, including food services, to the students of our community at no charge. The 39 tax increase is going to cost an average homeowner of $250,000, $175,050 additional taxes to the additional $2,696 that they're currently paying. I've asked for a detailed plan from the administration and the superintendent, and you guys are just throwing it out there that you want 39 cents, but you don't have a plan to back up what you're going to spend and how you're going to spend the money to be cohesive and understanding to the public. I take that as an insult to our community. Then you're going to turn around and ask for a bond issue from our public. And I still don't see details. All I hear is natatorium, natatorium, natatorium. The superintendent has in his mind that he wants to put a natatorium at all 4 high schools. And I think that's ludicrous. So finally, I was crying before because we have an outright attack on education in Missouri. In our state legislature, in the state senate, and the state house, I've been testifying weekly on numerous bills that are attacking public education. And the way that we're going, we're not going to have a school district because the funding's going to dry up and we're going to go bankrupt because you can't have your cake and eat it too. School choice is on the record and it keeps passing the legislature. Tax credits, rebates for homeschooling your children, virtual education, sending your children to private schools, charter schools, real estate exemptions. How far reaching is this? Now they're after teacher tenure, to take away teacher tenure and put them on a commission type basis. I would like to reach out to you, to board members, to work in a partnership, because now the second phase is going to the Senate and some of the bills are going to the House. Senate bills 23, 25, and 55 will be going to the House in the next month. And House Bill 345 will be going to the Senate along with other bills. I'm reaching out to you so we could go to Jefferson City and testify and squash. Can I just sum up with about 10 or 15 seconds here?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm asking to join in a partnership. We may not always agree, but we respectfully disagree on the issues. But I'm asking you, for the name and the sake of our staff and the name and the sake of our students and community, we need to stop this outright attack on public education. And I'm asking you to join me to go to the Senate and go to the House in the coming months between now and May 15th. And let's defeat these ludicrous, selfish bills that are being sponsored by House members in St. Charles County, Chris Finelli, Nick Shore, and Senators Bob Onder and Bill Eigel. They're all started right here in St. Charles County. And we need to stop this assault on public education. And I'm asking you to join me to defeat these bills. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to entertain them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That would conclude the public speaking portion of the meeting. Presentations for Proposition Strong Schools. Dr. DeBray, would you like to give us an update?
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to just talk with the school board and update you and the audience as to what efforts are being made to pass Proposition Strong Schools. That's a 39-cent tax increase on the ballot. April 6th, the same election that we're going to elect 2 members for new 3-year terms on our school board. Proposition Strong Schools was brought about because of the withholds that the governor made on public education. $130 million at the end of the last fiscal year and $123 million at the start of this fiscal year. Between those withholds and the lower revenue from the gambling boats, the Classroom Trust Fund, it's about $7 million. In addition, we had to spend about $4 million that we weren't counting on for personal protective equipment and online instruction for primarily our high school kids that were receiving virtual education. So better part of $11 million. The 39 cents will bring in about 10.6 million. We've recovered a little bit in that the governor has released this year's withholds, the 123 million. That'll mean a little more than $2 million to us. But he has not done anything with the previous fiscal year, and I think it won't happen. I don't believe we'll get anything from that. There is some hope in that the stimulus funds coming along, but I want to caution you and anybody else that the stimulus funds are one-time monies. So even though you get that money, you don't get it the next year and the year after and so on and so forth. So you can't really spend those stimulus monies on recurring costs like salaries, benefits, utilities, things like that, because you'd have to get that same amount of money the next year. So that'll help. It'll get our balances up, but it won't solve the problem. The way we solve the problem is get more revenue in a recurring fashion. So that's where a tax increase comes into play. We have 3 weeks to go before Proposition Strong Schools. I've been talking to the faculties. I'm probably about halfway through all our faculties. Some PTOs, PTAs. We have talked to the Chambers of Commerce, the legislative committees at O'Fallon and Greater St. Charles. There is a lot of goodwill out there towards Fort Zumwalt. Parents have been pleased that we've been in school face to face, and I believe people will support the school like they have in the past. So that's kind of what we've been doing, why we need it, how we got into this spot. I want to introduce Laura Wagner. Laura's administrative assistant to the superintendent, and she coordinates all of our media campaign. So Laura, if you want to tell us a little bit about what you've been doing, then we'll see a video.
All right. Thank you, Dr. DeBray, and members of the board. Been working for a few months now, trying to help folks understand our budget situation as it's unfolded since this time last year. And I've been working to help folks understand the importance of reserves and the differences in how we run our own personal budgets from how the district is required to run its budget. We communicate with our stakeholders on a wide variety of channels, but with that, it's important to have one good well of information. So in January, after you put it on the ballot, we launched go.fzsd.us/strong schools, which is our well of information on the proposition. And if you go to that website, you can find the ballot language. You can find an infographic that breaks down how we got here, what it means for taxpayers, what it means for the district. There's an impact calculator, so you can enter the market value of your house and determine what the monthly and annual impact of the 39 cents would be for you. And there's a button at the bottom where you can send a question to Dr. DeBray if what's out there didn't answer your questions. So he has been corresponding with the community the past few weeks. We're posting that on that website as well. And we're sending it to parents and staff. And on the podcast that comes out on Sunday, he's going to answer those questions for those who want to just listen to it on their way to work or check it out on a video. All of that information is there at go.fzsd.us/strong schools. Everything that's there has been disseminated on other channels, whether it's the district's 27 websites, our 27 principals newsletters home, our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, our podcast, as I said. I've got community newsletters scheduled to go out the 29th and the 31st that should reach about 80,000 residents. And we also have some strategically placed signage. So we work through our chambers of commerce. They're great community partners. We have 3 billboards around the county, and we also have some digital advertising that we work with through them. And we have regular email conversations, and as Dr. DeVray said, meetings and media appearances. So with us meeting our stakeholders in as many places as we can, including this meeting right here, we're hoping that we can get anybody who's thirsty for information on Proposition Strong Schools back to the well at go.fzsd.us/strong schools. So with that, we have a short overview video about what the proposition is and what it will mean for the district and for residents.
Fort Zumwalt School District has 2 items on the April 6th ballot. The first is the election of 2 Board of Education members from a field of 5 candidates. The 2 candidates gaining the most votes will serve 3-year terms. You can find a list at fz.k12.mo.us. The second is Proposition Strong Schools, a 39-cent increase for the district's operating levy. Since August 31st, Fort Zumwalt School District has provided in-person and online instruction 5 days a week to almost 18,000 students pre-K through 12. The district provided this instruction despite having lost $2.1 million in anticipated revenue when the state withheld funding at the end of the 2019-2020 fiscal year. The district provided this instruction despite losing $2.4 million in anticipated revenue when the state withheld funding at the beginning of the 2020-2021 fiscal year. While it has been announced the revenue withheld for fiscal 2021 will be restored, it has yet to get to Fort Zumwalt School District. The district provided this instruction despite losing $2 million in classroom trust fund revenue. This revenue is allocated to the district from the state's gaming receipts. The closure and subsequent partial reopening of the state's casinos continues to cut into this revenue stream. The district provided this instruction at an unanticipated cost of roughly $3.8 million. These expenditures were necessary for personal protective equipment, cleaning and sanitizing supplies, additional staff to lower class sizes and provide adequate social distancing, technology and software to provide equity and access, and virtual curriculum that was the closest possible replica of our students' in-person learning. The district provided this instruction by relying on its financial safety net. Losses in state revenue and unanticipated expenditures were covered by Fort Zumwalt School District reserves. These reserves are now below levels recommended in Board of Education policy. Passage of Proposition Strong Schools requires a simple majority. It would allow the district to recover and reset. It would provide nearly $10.6 million in revenue for the district that cannot be interrupted by problems with the state budget. It would stop deficit spending, replenish reserves, and position the district to move forward prepared for unanticipated economic events. For the owner of a $150,000 home, it would mean about $9 per month in additional escrow. Failure of Proposition Strong Schools would mean a selective hiring freeze and staff cuts through attrition, which could increase class sizes, limit bus routes, and impair facilities upkeep. Failure would also force the district to continue cutting costs in as many areas as possible. Reserves would remain short of the recommended 12 to 15% levels, meaning the district's safety net would not be strong enough to see it through another unanticipated economic event. Visit go.fzsd.us/strong schools to learn more. There, our superintendent answers frequently asked questions, and you can learn more about school finance. Thanks for watching.
So I never was a big math fan when I was in school. I was a word person, but and that fear totally went toward word problems. But I'm pretty well versed at a word problem now because I had a great teacher. If you take the market value of your home times 0.19, you will get the assessed value of your home. If you divide that by 100, then you will know what you need to multiply the 39 cents by to find the impact on your tax bill. So the $9 a month is on the assessed, it's the $100 of assessed valuation. And we get a lot of questions on that as we go through this process. And that's why we put the impact calculator on the website, so folks can punch in that market value that they're more familiar with, and it will determine the potential impact on their personal property tax. So did you guys have any questions?
Good job.
All right, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let me just wrap up and let you know that FZEA has voted to support us as well, and has put signs out. If we pass the issue, we'll be able to give salary increases. If we don't, it's going to depend on how high that balance gets with some of the stimulus money and this money the governor's released. But I would say that the money we've lost from the gambling boats and the money we lost from the first 1920 fiscal year, we're not going to see that again. So that's several $1 million. And just point out that the legislature is not talking about replacing that money from the previous fiscal year. I think they've kind of got away with that one. So we're working hard at it. We want to try to get it passed and get back on track with our budget and with our staff. That's it.
And as a side note, our FZEA is here tonight. They have signs for the Strong Schools proposition. So if you'd like to take the signs home for your yard or your neighbors, please see Dana or
Dana.
just Dana? Okay.
They're all in my car.
Okay, see Dana. All right, moving on. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda that you have before you, including the addendums that you received tonight. Moore, second. Callahan, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Moving on to financial reports. One-legged hop along.
Good evening, members of the board. I direct your attention to all the financial reports, the financial statement, investment schedule, revenue report, expenditure report, calculator, and specifically my financial summary, which pulls all that together. For the month of February 2021, fund balances at the end of February totaled $104,327,803.80. Of that balance, $15.1 million was reserved for debt service, $8.7 million for capital projects, leaving $85.3 million for operations. And as shown on the investment schedule, $56.5 million was invested at the end of the month, $14.9 million was related to debt service, $8.7 million was left for bond proceeds, which is all of the bond proceeds that we have, and $31.8 million was for operating funds. Revenues for February totaled $28,927,523.96. That was made up of $9 million in local revenue, $3 million in county revenue, $5.1 million in state revenue, $1.7 million in federal revenue, and $10.1 million in other, which was due to other revenue, which is really other financing sources, which is related specifically to a debt refinancing that we completed during the month. So year-to-date revenues are running $1.8 million higher than last year. This was due to for several reasons. Local revenues are $0.7 million less in total. First, we've lost $2.6 million in food service receipts, which we'll talk about in a minute, that we made up in federal receipts because the federal government's funding our food service program this year. We also lost $0.9 million in interest earnings. Our rates are continue to hover around 6 basis points. That is 0.06%. That is just pathetic, and we're just losing all of our earnings. Last year around this time, I think we were above 2% was our average earnings. So we've lost $0.9 million. $1.5 million we lost in student activities due to reduction in student activities. They're just not doing all the fundraising they were before, and they're not having all the travel and other things that they usually do. This was mostly offset by $3.3 million more in tax collections, which we had planned on and is included in our budget. $0.4 million increase in Prop C. So sales tax continues to be strong, which actually when this first hit, we thought we might take a bit of a hit in sales tax. We thought that would drop off because of all the restaurants closing and businesses closing, but sales taxes have remained strong, which is a good thing. I think a lot of people were buying stuff online and shifting to grocery stores versus restaurants, so the sales tax was still there. And we also generated 1.1 million in premium generated by the bond refunding. Of course, that's all debt service money, and none of that is operations. So state revenues are skewed at this point due to a timing difference. We did receive 2.1 million earlier this year for early childhood special ed than we had in the previous years. We've had problems with DESE approving our final expenditures reports and starting to make payments. And last year, we really had some issues with getting that approved. But this isn't really additional revenue, but it'll just catch. So the reimbursement that we're getting that we would normally get is much higher for federal, which is offsetting, and we don't have to charge our parents or students for that free or for that reduced price or that full price meal, which is good for our community right now. And then the last thing is our debt service revenue is inflated by 10.1 million, and that goes back to that refinancing that we just completed. Expenses for February totaled $47,616,413.14. For the month of February, the district spent $16.1 million on salaries and benefits, which is right in the ballpark with what we would expect to spend. $2.1 million on purchase services, $1 million on supplies, $0.4 million on capital and construction, and $28 million on debt service. $11.3 million of that, and that's the combination between the $10.1 million that we got directly for the bond principal refunding, in addition to the $1.1 million that we got for the premium on those bonds that we sold. So we're actually inflated by about $11.3 million in addition to our normal debt service payment, which we would have had to have during that month of February. Compared to this last year, at this same time, expenses are up about $5.2 million in total. The increase is entirely due to that debt refinancing. So if we exclude that, expenses are actually running about, $8.3 million less for the year. So the majority of the reduction is related to 6.6 million less bond finance capital expenditures. Lisa hasn't been near as busy this year. She's still busy, but not near as busy spending that money as we had in prior year. The majority of the reduction, like I said, is related to 6.6 million in capital expenditures. The remaining decrease is kind of spread out across all categories. There's not really any specific area where, like, some years we have a curriculum adoption and that may cost us a couple of $1 million in one year and not the next. So, but this is pretty much just spread out across most categories. As we did have noted in previous reports, the certified salaries are up 2.2%. Or $1.1 million, which is where we'd expect to see our certified salaries. But this has been offset by support staff vacancies, which are down by 1.3 million. The vacancies have also driven down the benefit cost by another 600,000. Purchase service costs are down by around 737, and that's mainly driven by less travel. We're not sending people to conferences, and our students aren't traveling a lot. Contract transportation's down, and so are our student activities. Our supply costs are also down by another 225, and that's offset, of course, by a lot of the supplies and materials we have to buy for the COVID, for cleaning, sanitizing, and that kind of thing. But we're down in total, and a lot of that's due to less food items. Our electricity is running lower and less bus fuel. We have fewer routes, some of the kids staying home. We're feeding less kids, and we're transporting less kids as well. So, and I know this kind of comes up every month, so I just thought I would go ahead and address it. We still haven't received any of the stimulus monies. As far as I know, the legislature still has not approved the release of those funds. We've been told what they're supposed to be, but we have not received any of them, and I still don't know when we're going to be able to request them. The release from the governor, we kind of talked a little bit about that. If we just include, based on some of the projections from where we were at our last budget, some increases in some expenses that I know are coming into play with cleaning, sanitizing, those kind of things that custodial has needed. I know technology departments needed to add some money to their budget to cover some of their needs. We've had to add additional softwares and other things that we weren't expected at the beginning of the year. So with that, adding that and the release of, I think I'm ballparking this a little on the high side. If we get about 2.7 million due to that release, which will be basic formula, classroom trust fund, transportation, I'm thinking with that and adding the million, that should put us at about 11.4% just with that alone. That'll put us right about a $26 million fund balance for operations. Now, we haven't another 4.8 million that they told us we're going to be eligible to receive once it's released, and we can file for that. Now I'm projecting that should put us around the 13.5% fund balance mark for operations, and that should leave us with about a $30 to $30.8 million fund balance for the year. So just wanted to kind of give you the idea where we finished on our last budget in December. We were at 23.3 million fund balance and 10.2%. So these are good things, but again, like Dr. Bray said, that stimulus money is one-time money, and it'll just help us prop our fund balance up temporarily. Are there any questions about this? Sure.
So the 4.8 is the ESSR2 funds, right?
Correct.
We don't know when we're gonna get them, but I don't think we have much reason to believe we're not gonna get them, correct?
There's no reason to believe we won't, but until the legislature votes to release that, our hands are tied, so.
So that 13.8 comment is based off of the governor releasing the 2.7 as well as the 4.8 actually being released.
Correct.
It does not include the passing of the Strong Schools proposition.
Does not.
When we started this year, we expected to be 3 million in the hole this year,
Roughly.
right?
Roughly, yeah.
And then we're gonna end with a surplus of what?
Well, if we get all of that money, it may be about a $5.8 million surplus.
So $8 to $9.5 million swing.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Orr? If there are none, I need a motion to approve the financial reports as presented. Second, Emmons, roll call, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Old business, facility planning. Hi.
Hi, good evening,
Hello.
members of the board. I was gonna give you a quick update on the PDC first. It's going well. We're finally getting in the dry. They've got the roof all pretty much completely on. We're getting all the exterior walls and storefront should be finished within a week or so. But they're moving strong and fast on the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing rough ends, and they've actually started hanging some drywall. So the contractor's trying to make up some time for the bad weather that we lost and then you'll probably see some site work start again too once the weather dries out. So LCS is doing a really good job and they're moving along really, really good. I'm really happy with them. So doesn't look like much is happening anymore because you can't see inside, but they are going to down. Okay.
Very good.
In your board packet, there was a couple of memos that I had given to Dr. Bray. The first one was regarding the lawn mowing services. On Thursday, March 4th, we accepted bids for the district's lawn mowing services. It's a 3-year contract. We solicited the bids for 2 bid packages. We divided the district. We gave 17 schools to each bid package. We had 6 companies that submitted bids at the time of the bid opening. The apparent low bidder for both bid packages was Broyles Lawn Service. They had serviced the district before, and their references that they provided again, so they did a good job for them. But in addition, Archway Lawn and Landscaping was the second lowest bidder for one of the bid packages, bid package 1, just by an additional $520. Archway has not worked for the district, but I called their references and they got very, very excellent reviews. And they have a lot of manpower and equipment according to their inventory lists and their contractor's qualification statements. It would be my recommendation for the district to award the lawn mowing services to 2 contractors. This would provide us with backup in the event that a contractor could not fulfill their obligation for any reason in the middle of the contract. It's kind of a good safety net. And it's $520 more. The bid documents, we did state that we would, that each bid package must be bid separately and independently without obligating the school district to accept both bid packages. So we could award them separately on this. And it does give us 2 contractors. If one gets behind or we have problems, we have that backup. Trying to get somebody to take over lawn service in the middle of the summer has always been a kind of something in the back of Ken's mind if he would ever have any problems. So, with that, I would ask for a recommendation. I don't know if we have to take them separately for each contractor to the board, or if anybody's got any questions.
Any questions? For Lisa? If not, I'd like to separate them and bring before the board, I need a motion to award bid package 1, the archway lawn and landscaping, in the amount of $74,750 per year. That's for 17 locations, 26 cuts per location.
Correct.
Need a motion to approve. Mr. Moore, second. I'm sorry?
George.
George? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed? And then I need a motion also for Broyles Lawn Service, bid package 2, also 17 locations, 26 cuts per location, for an annual amount of $98,150.
Emmons.
Second?
More.
Moore? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item?
The second item I have in the board packet is for the Professional Development Center. We've been thinking ahead, and in preparation, I've been working with Jesse Bowman, the Director of Purchasing, and JB and Jen to furnish that building. We've identified kind of separated two different areas. It's different than a normal school building. We have office spaces, and then we have a lot of large conference spaces. Currently, we have a contract with Office Essentials. We get a very large discount on office furniture from them. It's even better than what we would get going through Ed Plus. We had them look at our needs, and they submitted a proposal for for 27 office spaces for $165,489.85. And then in addition to the office furniture, then we looked at all the conference room furniture. We have a lot of conference rooms there. We've actually released, Jesse did through the purchasing department on January 22nd, a bid package. She sent it out to 25 vendors. We had bids come back on February 18th, and we only received bids from 2 of those 25 vendors. Color Art and Office Essentials. The bid package included like all the conference room furniture, lobby room furniture, lobby break room seating, storage, shelving. And when we compared those, we found that Office Essentials at a cost of $156,577.88. They had some better warranties than Color Art. And the other deciding factor that played a big part is Office Essentials, all their furniture will match. They're getting all their laminates from one vendor. Color Art gave me about 6 or 7 vendors, and all the laminates are gonna vary just a little bit. So we could have one room that could have a couple of, like the tables could have one laminate, but the bookcase could have a different laminate, so it might look a little mismatched on that. The district's normal furniture discount is 60% off list price. Office Essentials was able to provide us a higher discount on this project, and their discounts were anywhere from 63 to 68% off list price. So I feel we're getting a very good price from Office Essentials on this product, with going with them on both. Plus, our warranty for all the furnitures will be handled through one vendor, and we won't have to be going through 2 different vendors trying to figure out, if there's a problem. So at this time, I'd like to request approval to move forward with the purchase of all the office furniture and conference furniture through Office Essentials.
If you could also, Lisa, speak to, I think for me, when I was reading through this, the big weight on the scale was the fact that one of them was offering like lifetime or 12 years to lifetime in some cases on the stuff.
Correct.
The other one wasn't so good.
Correct. Office Essentials uses mostly Han furniture. That's where the majority of the furniture is coming from. And depending on what the furniture is, we have anywhere from a lifetime to a 12-year to a 5-year. They have different warranties. Like, for example, laminate is 12 years more, a 12-year warranty. On some of the products that Office Essentials was giving, some of the laminates, we were getting, it wasn't the laminates, it was on, sorry, take it back. It was like 2 to 5 year warranty. And one of those things that played a big part was our large meeting room. It's We're trying to furnish it for 300 seats, 90 tables. And some of those are gonna get a lot of abuse and moving and stuff, and we're worried that we're gonna get 2 years down the road and we're not gonna be able to get, it's not gonna be covered under warranty. With Office Essentials, we've got 12 years to a lifetime, and they'll replace it depending on the type of product for free and take care of us.
All right. Any questions regarding what has been presented, the bid summary for Lisa?
Just a point of clarification, again, so we're voting to approve two different things, right? The purchase of the office equipment or furniture for $165,000.
Correct.
There is no competing bid for that.
No, because we already have a contract with Office Essentials to purchase furniture for our offices. Jesse's been doing it for any of the offices that need furniture throughout the district. They've already got set prices, so we just had them fill our order for that.
That was already competitive.
So that's not approved. We're not approving that tonight. All we're approving tonight is the conference room furniture.
Yes, I understood, Dr. Bray, we needed both to be approved, correct?
Right.
Yes, yeah, because I don't have any budget set aside for furniture.
Okay.
And it's all bond issue.
No, I'll be fine.
So what we're really approving is the $312,000 for office furniture and conference furniture from OEI. Okay.
Any other questions?
What is the number 5 item on the bid summary? The add or deduct grand total?
That was, we had inconsistencies. We were trying to keep it apples to apples, and we gave them a layout of the building, and we said, you know, here's what we think will fit in here. And some of the vendors came back and said, well, we only put 2 chairs in here. And another vendor said, we put 4. So we decided we really need 4. So we had the other vendor increase their bid to have the correct total that we would want.
Okay.
It was not changing product, it was just getting the quantity, so it was apples to apples.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Do we need to take this in 2 separate, or do just one?
No,
because
just
it's one
one.
vendor?
Yeah.
All right. So I do need a motion then on the proposal to receive the office furniture from Office Essentials for the amount of $165,489.85, along with the conference room areas, including the break rooms and storage rooms for $156,577.88 for the Office Essentials Incorporated. Need a motion.
Move for approval, Callahan.
Callahan, second please.
More?
Moore, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks,
Thank you.
Lisa.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to new business, Dr. DeBrey.
All righty, first item under new business is to approve the Developmental Disabilities Resource Board application. Laura Smith's got that for you, so if you'd explain that, Laura.
Thank you, Dr. DeBrey. Good evening, members of the board. Included in your packet was an application to request fiscal funding from the Developmental Disabilities Resource Board that would allow up to $8,400 to be applied for through the DDRB that would assist to offset the cost of students who qualify and attend extended care at the Early Childhood Center to offset the cost of them staying additional time at the center. Agreeing to this would allow our director of early childhood special education, Lynette Cornett, to enter into funding contracts not to exceed that $8,400. So I ask this evening, if you don't have any questions, that we would move forward to have that available for us during fiscal year 22.
Any questions? Need a motion to approve the recommendation for the DDRB resolution for the district to request $8,400 for the 2022 funding.
More?
Technology, equipment, and services. So we have to be very careful in the process that we follow. When we do this, we have to follow their standards for bidding, which requires us to post it nationally on the E-rate board, as well as notifying all of our vendors of bids and RFPs that we've sent out. So we followed that process. We have 3 projects this year that fall under our E-rate guidelines. The first, and we'll take this in 3 separate chunks because they're 3 fairly significantly different projects. So project number 1 is our internet service. We are at the end of our existing contract on internet service. We have been using Charter Spectrum to this point. We put that out to bid, asking for pricing on 5 gig and 10 gig service for the district. We are currently utilizing 5 gig and we have overhead space to work with, so we feel that we're comfortable in that area. The benefit of having included the 10 gig as pricing option for us is that we can jump to that if we need to in the future, if we see need arise. So with that competitive bid, we received bids from 3 vendors. The low cost and meeting best specifications was actually from Everstream for the 5 gigabyte service. That is $2,950 a month for the district. I reached out to references because I don't have a lot of experience with Everstream, but the references were really good, including the city of O'Fallon, who moved to them last year, and they've said they've had great service from them. So I would recommend that we make that move over to Everstream.
Will this allow you to tie all the trunks together so we can start using our phone systems?
So that's a completely separate piece. That's the wide area network, which we already do. Yeah.
We're getting to that tonight?
We're gonna get to that, yeah.
Okay. All right, so the recommendation is then for internet service?
Yes.
Everstream, $29.50 a month. Any motion to approve?
Just real quick, Jimmy, I'm just curious, how much bandwidth do we have extra? What is our?
We peak at about 3.2. That's kind of what I've been watching this past couple weeks. We haven't been above 3.5 at any point, which surprised me this year with as much virtual instruction as we're trying to do. So.
Any concerns for that if we all had to move to a streaming event, streaming from the classrooms?
No, I think we'll be fine. We do have that 10 gig option there that we can bounce to if we really run into a problem. But if we do end up streaming all of our classrooms, we're going to also have fewer students in the classrooms at that point. So that's going to offset just a little bit.
Any other questions? If not, I need a motion to approve as recommended. George, second. Callahan, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, second project, and I do want to mention, I don't know if I mentioned it up front, we get a 50% discount on services. That includes internet and it includes our internal network connections. So with that being said, the second project we have is our wide area network. We currently use Charter Spectrum for this. Again, we put this out to bid. We use our wide area network to bring all services from the data center into all the facilities throughout the district. We currently have 28 locations that we service, if memory serves me. We have a few campuses that share that connection between the schools to try and reduce the number of sites we have as much as possible, but that's where we're at. With that said, we currently have a 1 gig connection to each of our sites that aggregates through a Charter data center and comes back to us in our facility at 10 gigs. We have had no issues on that front. Our internal connectivity is good. We've also worked with Charter to ensure as part of this phone migration that all the QoS services and tagging are going to come across correctly. We've tested that with our East High cutover, so that is working well. This will allow us to continue along that path. I also asked for pricing to upgrade any of our sites to 10 gigabit service at any point in time. So should we notice in our monitoring that we start to hit our peaks, we can certainly upgrade any one of those sites on a need-be basis. With that being said, again, we get a 50% discount on this. The best quote that came in is from Charter Spectrum Services at a total cost of $21,607 per month. Part of the benefit there is that they do not have any upfront or construction costs. One thing I do want to note, we did have an interesting bid that did not meet specifications, but was an opportunity for a private lit fiber network. We've reached out to several vendors. We reached out to our E-rate consultants, and they have all recommended that that's something to look at, but it's a minimum 2-year process to really do it the right way, but could end up saving us money in the long term. So I'm absolutely working on the process for that moving forward now that we've seen that that's an opportunity for us. So, but at the moment, to get us there, I feel that we need to stick with our existing service.
Okay, so back to my previous question.
Yep.
So I'm a little concerned, I guess, maybe don't need to be, but we still have a phone system we can't use, and what I was under the impression was it was because of Spectrum that we couldn't use it.
So it's because of their 911 services that we were having problems. Those issues were resolved last month, and we're deploying the new phone system in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it because of this that they've resolved it, or were you able to resolve it?
We were able to resolve it separate from this.
When will it be finished?
We are going to complete it over spring break. So we are less than 4 weeks from completion.
And have you gone back to Worldwide, our provider for the equipment, to try to get the service agreement?
I have been pushing them extremely hard, and so far I've not been able to get anything out of them on that front. Worldwide is saying it's a Cisco issue. Cisco is saying it's not something that they can do. If anybody's got some other recommendations or references to talk to, I'm happy to talk to those, and I'm continuing to push with both of those organizations. Okay, thank you.
All right. So I need a motion then for the if there are no other questions, I need a motion to approve the recommendation for Spectrum as the wide area network services provider for $21,607 a month. Second, please. Callahan, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Okay, the last component is for equipment and network services. So there's kind of 3 pieces to this, but it all comes together into a single component. The 3 main pieces: wireless access points. This is the final phase of our wireless rollout and upgrade. We started this process 4 years ago, I believe it was. Started slow and then started ramping up. We are replacing AeroHive access points with Aruba access points, which has been fantastic for us. Besides the fact that Aruba provides higher throughput and more reliability for us, the AeroHive access points are at end of life. We're not able to get replacements, and they are also starting to go bad on us. So we are struggling to keep them running through the end of this year, and very much look forward to replacing what we have left. This final phase includes 13 locations, which of those 13 locations, the PDC is also one of those, the new PDC, because we need to provide equipment in that new facility. We have 2 middle schools, the Early Childhood Center, and 9 elementary schools as part of that project. The total cost on this is $282,901. All of this, except for the new PDC, is eligible for E-rate coverage. That accounts for about 9,000 of this, the PDC does, so the rest of it comes in at our free and reduced lunch count, which is very close to a 50% discount. The second component here is wired network equipment specifically for the new PDC location. Again, this is not E-rate eligible, but it was in our RFP to do it all in one shot. The cost for that is $19,606. And finally, the district firewall maintenance and renewal is a yearly cost for us. Total cost is $124,844 for that unit that is E-rate eligible, which means we'll get about a 50% discount for that unit. With all that being said, with all the bids that we received, Provision Data Solutions provided the best option and best cost in all of these categories and the best technical specifications as we requested. So my recommendation would be to move forward with that.
So does the firewall still have that software that was kind of a guarantee that if we ever had issues like we did a couple years ago? Wasn't there some fancy software that we put on our firewall?
Well, we use Sentinel-1 for malware, which is not tied in with our firewall. It's separate software. Yeah, that one does have us a guarantee for if we were to get hit with ransomware or something like that. Yeah.
So that's not part of it.
This is separate. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for JB?
How many access points in those 13 locations?
734, if I remember right. And I'm sorry, I'm going off the top of my head with that one. It's just under 750.
Any other questions? None? I need a motion then to approve the recommendation for Provision Data Solutions. 3 totals: $282,901, $19,606, and $124,844. Whatever that totals. Motion, please. Second. George? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Thank you all.
Sir.
Thanks, JP. Next item, Henry has the 21-22 certified and support staff projections, so he's going to present those to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Gray. Good evening, members of the board. Before we jump into that, I'd like to introduce, if you haven't had the opportunity to meet, Ms. Erin Williams is here with us in the audience. She's our Director of Support Staff Personnel, so she works in the personnel department and helps with all of our support staff matters, does a great job, and she'll be here and able to answer any questions that may come up as well as part of this recommendation. You do have a memo from me in your packet which outlines projections for our staffing needs for next year. This process we bring to the board every spring, usually in March or April, and they are projections based upon the best data that we have at the time that helps us formulate a staffing plan for next year moving forward. It's a little more challenging this year because we have a couple of variables at play that we typically don't have related to COVID-19 and also related to again, a couple things that we are keeping an eye on due to some of these variables that have yet to be defined. But you can see if you flip back to page 4, 5, and 6, each elementary building has the projected class sizes with sections factored in, and then an average class size per grade level and an overall average for each building as well. At the elementary level, we are projecting a decrease of 4 full-time grade level positions, and that again is the total. We would decrease teacher sections at the elementary level at Darden, MG, 2 at Progress South, 2 at St. Peter's, and 2 at Westhoff, and increase at Lewis and Clark. That would be 2 sections, Twin Chimneys, and Flint Hill. There are a couple of grade levels that we're watching there that they're running higher than we would like. But again, because of there are some unknowns at play here, most namely virtual instruction and how that might impact, if at all, enrollment for next year. These numbers are all built upon the assumption that every student will be returning face-to-face. Okay, we know that may not happen, but this is our starting point. If the numbers decrease in the face-to-face setting, then that will help alleviate some of these classes that are a little larger than we would like. And if they don't, then we know we're going to have to look at those kind of bubble classes to address. And those are Mid Rivers. We're looking at 2nd and 5th grade sections at Mid Rivers, Mount Hope, 1st and 3rd grade sections as well. Also included, just for your information, the DESE class size standards, which would be the maximum and the desirable standard for each grade level as well. At middle school, we're projecting a decrease of 1 position overall, and at high school, a decrease of 4.5 positions. And again, any of those decreases would be handled through attrition. Work with Dr. Smith in the special services and early childhood special education portion, and again, what that recommendation is showing is an increase of 2 positions overall. And again, there's some movement around to get to that 2.0 number. The district is proposing we add up to 2 iLabs, which is intensive language and behavior support program classrooms, and proposes to do such at Flint Hill Elementary. We need to add a special education teacher at Forest Park Elementary due to caseloads, and Mike Clemens Center and the Early Childhood Center as well, proposing we increase special education teacher position in each of those buildings. The good news is that those increases at Early Childhood, Mike Clemens Center, and at Flint Hill will be offset either in whole or in part by either state or federal program reimbursement options. So that's not all going to be borne on the district for those increased positions. We'll see some offsets there. And then finally, in special services, requesting to add an educational diagnostician position at the district level. And this would be more so primarily better support our non-public, private, parochial, homeschool students and families. And also just to kind of help assist buildings that may have a need. Perhaps there's a long-term absence that we have to go in and support, and that's what this person could do as well. The final category is this district instructional technology coaches, and these were some new positions that we kind of put together in the middle of the year this year out of dire necessity to help better support our teachers in the arena of how to implement instructional technology into the classroom. It's been, we've gotten a lot of great feedback on it, and it's something that we would like to see carry forward into next year. So that would be an increase of 2 positions because we had not factored those in yet, and those are new positions altogether. We'd like to have one of those positions focus on elementary grades and one to focus on the secondary grades, just support positions for our teachers. So again, on the certified side, looking at a decrease of 5.5 positions, and we always look to be as judicious as we can when filling any positions, but those are our projections at this time for certified.
Any questions for Dr. St. Pierre or Mr. Williams?
Yeah, just a couple. I think I heard you say these projections of class sizes and then the staff required is based on 100% of our kids returning to in-person. Effectively, then this is the largest we would expect it to be.
Yes, it is. Sorry, did you have another?
No.
Okay. It is with all returning face-to-face, yes. If there are some unknowns that, that we have to address as a district, I think, is that if there's going to be any deviation off of that.
Okay.
And that can have some implications.
Perfect. The reduction in support staff.
Yeah.
All those positions, those 4 positions are currently vacant. So it's not a reduction in an individual that's currently staffed here, but rather a reduction in current open head count.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Are any of the reductions on the support side or on the certified staff side associated in any way with our current fund balances?
No, I wouldn't say they are. As far as are we being more aggressive with that due to the fund balances, or is that?
Yeah.
I think we're always looking at staffing and being as from a fiduciary standpoint, being as sound as we can and being as conservative as we can, while trying to balance those things that are important, class sizes, safety, et cetera. So it's always a balance, but we're always going to be as conservative as we can. I wouldn't say this is we haven't taken much of a different approach this year as we have in years past.
Okay. But just to restate, the projections we have here are based off the needs of our students and not off of any kind of financial concerns.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Concerns, comments? I need a motion to approve the 2021-22 certified support staff projections as presented by Dr. St. Pierre. Mr. Moore, second. Mr. George, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item.
Next item, Paul Myers has a 3rd quarter policy renewal and approval. Paul?
Thank you, Dr. Parade, members of the board, good evening. You had an opportunity to look at this packet and then the minor addendum as well. We've kind of covered these in a little bit more depth previously. Relatively small packet, some of it informed by feedback from the board and some of it just from a standard review process. So in looking through that, if you have any questions or want clarification on items we have not already discussed, I'd be happy to do so. Otherwise, would ask for your approval. With a reminder that these will be in effect after the June rollover date, so not in effect immediately. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions, comments? Dr. Myers? Being none, I need a motion to approve the 3rd quarter policy renewal.
Approval.
Mr. Callahan, second, please. Mr. Evans, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last item in the open session is to recommend that we reschedule our Monday, April 19th regular meeting to Thursday, April 15th. The reason for that is Fort Zumwalt is considered an urban district, and as such, we have different procedures and laws that apply to us, one of which is when the general election is held in April, we have to approve the election results within 10 days. We can't make it if we wait till the 19th. So we're recommending that we move that meeting till the 15th, if that'll fit in a quorum schedule anyway. And then we can live up to that 10-day requirement by the state. That is a state law, by the way.
Any questions or comments?
What time?
What time? Same time?
Same time, yep.
Any other questions? If none, I need a motion to approve the rescheduling of the April 19th regular board meeting to Thursday, April 15th, 6 p.m.
George.
Mr. George, second. Callahan, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, board. Good job tonight. Comments from the board. Start with Mr. Callahan. Age before beauty.
I think I have hats at home older than some of the people in the audience. So, my only comment is the strong schools proposition. That's important to us, and I wholeheartedly support as much education as possible between now and the 6th of April. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. George?
Number one, thanks for all the schools for the thoughtful gifts on Board Appreciation Week. They were really nice. One I really liked was, I think it was Pheasant Point. I can't remember the girl's name, but she wrote a note asking if we could get more balls for outside. I thought that was cute. Contact your legislators and ask them not to do these terrible bills, but moreover, remember which ones didn't listen to you next time around, and maybe we can make some changes. And then thank you for everybody on the committees. I know it's a sacrifice of personal time, but I think in the end, we're better for it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moore?
Agree with what these guys said as well. And I do like all the board appreciation gifts. They do bring a good light at this tough year that we've had, but we always enjoy getting them and all the comments. And I also had a comment from a young individual who asked if we could extend their recesses or do whatever we could with that. So we're definitely looking at that. So.
Mr. McCormick?
In the note I got asked about why do we have to go to school until 4 o'clock? Why can't we go until 6:50 every day? So that's all I got.
Thank you. Mr. Evans?
1 year ago, almost to the minute, we received the email that classes for the rest of 2020, the spring semester, was going to be postponed or at least moved to in person. So it's just interesting that we're now sitting here again almost to the minute that I remember receiving that email that we were going out. I think we've all learned a lot. We've certainly experienced quite a bit from a number of different angles. And it's interesting that we're only a few short days away from the end of Q3 for this year, as we begin to kind of open up not only spring semester, but or spring break, but also the fourth quarter, the last quarter of a year that I don't think any of us ever expected. I'm going to continue to reiterate what I have over and over again, which is our appreciation for all of our staff, our teachers, our administration, those in this room and in our buildings, for all the hard work, exceptional work that has been done. But I also think it's time for us to begin kind of retrospecting on what we've learned through that process and the outcome associated with the academic pursuits of our students, and make some very strong decisions on what is next for the improvement in that area. So I look forward to that process, but I don't want that process to let us lose sight of the fact that we all very much appreciate what everybody has done. So
Thank you, sir. I too have been pretty vocal in leaning on our state legislators recently because of the anti-public school rhetoric and the bills that are being passed in our House and pushed by our Senate. And I encourage every one of you who is in public education and in the public for your children that what they're doing is really not good for our communities and for our schools. It's a shame. So I encourage you and I plead with you to lean on them and ask them to return our phone calls when we call to make comments so that we could have a nice debate. Also, strong schools, of course, is something that because of what we've gone through, unfortunately, it's something that we don't necessarily relish in, but definitely something that we need to continue to offer the great education that we have here at Fort Zumwalt. And just on a high note, I want to quickly congratulate the North High Panther basketball team for making their way to the Final Four. And hopefully they'll be successful Friday night and in the championships for state on Saturday. So with all that being said, I need a motion from the board for us to go into closed session under Missouri Statute 610 for approval of minutes, student personnel, hiring and firing, promotion of personnel. Motion please, Mr. Moore, second, Mr. George, roll call, Mrs. Breen.
John,
Yes.
Tommy,
Yes.
Mike Sandra,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Mike McCormick.
Yes.
We can take a short recess and we'll get back to work.
You just mentioned that when we go back into open session, that we talked about it, and we're gonna table it until another meeting.
Okay. About
The resolution.
Oh, okay.
We're good.
All right, so we're back from closed session. And are there any other things that we need to discuss while we are in open session? What was that, Mike? Why don't you just say?
Okay, I was just gonna say, we had all received a letter, and we were talking about adding it to the agenda tonight to talk about in open session, but I don't think we're ready to do that, so we're gonna table that for another meeting.
Okay, sounds good. All right, if there's nothing else, then I need a motion to adjourn.
Move for adjournment.
I'm sorry?
Move for adjournment.
Callahan, second Moore. All in favor?
Aye.